week, it's not next week, it's tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll be in Ashanti region. And we have our Impact Hub. Our Impact Hub is a very, very nice space that we have created for exporters, will-be exporters, young people who want to start their own businesses to come and work with us. We've given you a very, very nice space, conducive atmosphere, is stocked with a library with all the books that you need on trade. We have online library as well. We have the computers for you to use, well-resourced space for you to talk to us, understand what exports are all about. If you want to develop a business and you want us to support you, we have that Impact Hub. And in that Impact Hub, we have the Ghana Standards Authority desk, we have the Food and Drugs Authority desk, we have the Ministry of Agrics, PPRSD, also in that space to support you. Our Market Hub is basically our website, and you can visit there as well for all the information on export. We work very closely with the National Coordinating Office of the AFCFTA to break down what this whole phenomenon is about, as well as help exporters with the ECOWAS trade liberalization scheme. And then we have our coconut revitalization program, which has been ongoing for the past 6 years, as well as pineapple revitalization program. And then we have our participations in international fairs where we support exporters whose products are ready to go onto the global market, to showcase their products on the global market. This we do by buying space for them and freighting their goods to these international fairs. Government pays for them to freight their goods, and government pays for the space for them as well. This is the support that this government gives to exporters, aside the interventions in the products and services that we normally do. We have our export trade advisory services, which we give, especially when you come to our Impact Hub. We have market access programs that will let you understand what the market is, where the market is, and what the market needs, and how to package your products and services to meet the demands of the market. We have also supported in cashew expansion. We are supporting especially craft sector and expansion. And you would realize when I get to the figures that because of the intentional nature of what we are doing, the craft sector in Ghana is gradually growing. And then we have our forum with the banking institutions, where we have created a platform for exporters to be able to liaise with the various banks, where we have programs with them, and because of that, they have also created products to service the export industry. So let's look at the 2022 NTEs in numbers. Our non-traditional export, I'm happy to say, for 2022 is 3.5 billion, a little over 3.5 billion. And this is to say that we grew by 6% for 2022. Percentage growth of the NTEs is what is broken down there. You see, NTEs contributed to the total merchandise of exports. So non-traditional exports basically is anything that is made in Ghana with value addition. And that is what we take care of at the Ghana Export Promotion Authority. And it contributed 20.22% to the total merchandise exports of Ghana, which will include oil and gold and raw cocoa, which we don't have any mandate over. The number one export earner, the non-traditional export earner, is cocoa paste. Value has been added to it from cocoa to become paste, so it sits with GEPA. And this is the number one export earner, which contributed over 500 million to the NTE statistics. Burkina Faso is our number one in Africa. The largest non-traditional export destination is Burkina Faso. And then we have the total of active exporters standing at 2,220, with 120 contributing over 3 billion. And then we have a total number of non-traditional exports being 604. But we have in the NEDS, the NET, that's our National Export Development Strategy, has 17 priority products. That does not mean that we are forgetting the rest. So we have about 604, but the priority areas are 17. From this 604, we are always looking and diversifying to add to the 17 priority areas. So the total services export, and this is quite a new area for us. GEPA in the past was looking at products and services, but not seriously at services. But for some time now, for the past 3-4 years, we've zoomed in on services as well, and we are looking at services because services can also be exported. And for this, we got 8 billion, a little over 8 billion in services alone. And we have not added that to the 3 billion because we are still trying to understand the services area. And it's earning a lot for us. So we are making an intentional, taking an intentional approach to how this is panning out. And the services area includes our IT, the selling of our IT, our teachers, our nurses, and a whole lot more. I've talked about Ghana's non-traditional export for 2022, which amounted to 3.5 billion, an increase of 6% over the 2021 NTE earnings of 3.3. The growth has been underpinned by a combination of all the changes that were done and the proposals that were part of the National Export Development Strategy that we've been trying to follow, and also the work that we have been doing with our agencies, especially the other institutions such as Ghana Export-Import Bank, the Ghana Free Zones Authority, the GIPC, Ghana Investment Promotion Council, the Ministry of Agric, our mother ministry that gives us all the support, the Ministry of Trade and Industry, and all the other stakeholders, Food and Drugs Authority, all of these institutions and the government contributed for us to have this 6% growth, and we will continue to collaborate with them to achieve even more. So let's look at where we were and how we have fared. And as you can see, at the end of December 2022, total NTE stood at 3.5 billion, whilst total merchandise exports of Ghana was 17.6. The graph you see there takes you through the percentage contribution of total national exports since 2018 to 2022. We are looking now at the contribution of the subsectors to the NTEs. Agriculture gave us 14.4%, handicraft 2.3%, and then manufacturers and semi-processed gave us 83.2%. This goes to show that we need to add value to our products to earn more for Ghana. So the average growth of these subsectors means that agric gave us 4.61%, manufacturers gave us 7.4%, and the handicraft sector, although in value terms may not seem very huge, but grew by 79.73% because of how intentional we have been about the craft industry, because it was gradually dying off. The top 10 non-traditional export products for 2022, therefore, are cocoa paste, cashew nuts, cocoa butter, iron and steel circles, rods, sheets, billets, articles of plastics, aluminum plates, sheets and coils, canned tuna, natural rubber sheets, cocoa powder, and shea oil. Cumulatively, the total value of the top 10 leading products amounted to a little over 2 billion, representing 60.9% of the total earnings of NTE in 2022. The manufacturers and semi-processed sector, as I already said, gave us 2.9, and the performance of that sector was due primarily to cocoa paste, aluminum plates, sheets, cut fruits, as well as aluminum sheets contributed to the earnings in this subsector. When we go to the agricultural subsector, agri subsector gave us 509 million compared to 476, which was earned in 2021, indicating a 4.61% growth. And this sector contributed about 14.7% share to the total NTE earnings in 2022. I'm afraid the writings are small, so when you get the handouts, you see everything clearly. The industrial art and craft sector increased by 79% over 2021 to $81 million. The subsector contributed about 2.30 to total non-traditional export earnings. The overall growth of the industrial art and craft subsector was therefore 79.73%. And as I said, we are expanding the craft villages around the country. We have a few, about 5 of them, and we are working deliberately to grow that sector by expanding the craft villages, by bringing them closer to the market, holding fairs in these villages. And we've started strongly with a brick craft village. We are working on the Abrafo in the central region, and very soon we will get to all the other regions. Ghana's non-traditional exports were exported to 155 countries within 5 distinct market destination groups represented, which includes the ECOWAS, the European Union, and United Kingdom, and other developed countries, and the rest of African countries and emerging markets. In 2022, the ECOWAS market was the leading destination for NTEs, representing 34.59% of the total market, while the EU and UK markets contributed 31.90%. GEPA is leading the implementation of a 10-year national export development strategy with the objective of increasing the NTEs to 25.3 by 2029. And this does not include the services. And so we are looking at products, because if we added services to it, this will not even be enough. We are looking at products hitting 25 million by 2029. And this is to be achieved through targeted programs and interventions which are anchored on the 3 strategic pillars of the net. The priority products experienced a growth of 7.64. 2,022 companies exported 604 non-traditional products, and 120 exporting companies' earnings accrued to the over 3 billion slightly over 3 billion, 3.53, contributing 80% of the total NTEs for 2020. And so here we will have to make a deliberate effort of growing the companies of the over 2,000 who are active and see who we can push to next time report to you that about 400 exporting companies achieved so much. We could go over the 4 million points. Our trade in services, total export of services from Ghana in 2022 amounted to 8,247,000,000. GEPE's strategy in the services sector is therefore focused on 4 key areas: the IT and IT-enabled services, medical tourism, education, and consultancy services, including other professional services. GEPA sponsored and supported the participation of about 16 tertiary institutions in students' recruitment fair in Nigeria. We toured, I think, 3 destinations in Nigeria for this recruitment fair, first of its kind. We started this before the COVID. We wanted to continue to other countries and in Africa, and then the COVID hit. But we were able to start again by going to Nigeria. And we went with the University of Ghana, KNUST, Central University, Wisconsin, University of Health and Allied Sciences, UDS, Academic City were among some of the institutions that participated in the fair. And in 2022, we signed an MOU with the International Trade Center, Netherlands Trust Fund 5, to develop and promote SMEs in the IT and IT-enabled space in Ghana. Our outlook, that's GEPE's outlook for 2023, includes, but not limited to, aggressive implementation of the various projects under the National Export Development Strategy in collaboration with relevant agencies, robust value addition campaigns and programs through enhanced investment in agro-processing, participation in selected international trade fairs, expos, and trade missions, organization of maiden inbound fairs in various sectors, market mission to Burkina Faso, which is the leading NTE's destination, market research and study tour of 15 selected African countries, and then the students' recruitment drive in Senegal, Gambia, and Cape Verde. We would also be launching very soon our first export trade house in Kenya and other African countries, and we will bring that announcement to you when it happens. I want to take this opportunity to thank the ministry and the ministers at the Ministry of Trade and Industry, to thank GIPC for the collaboration that they give us throughout our interventions and our travels outside the country to sell Ghana, for the FDA in the support that it gives to our exporters, the prompt response they give to us, for GESM for supporting us, for Ghana Revenue Authority, the Bank of Ghana, Ghana Standards Authority, Ministry of Agrics, PPRSD, and everybody that I couldn't mention here. But above all, I want to thank the Ministry of Information and our dear colleagues in the media who are here, who carry our story out there. Hopefully, as the minister said, you will get the document on the statistics and you will be able to break it down to everybody to understand that it is important to export. So let us export Ghana and export more. Thank you.
Another round of applause for Doc, please. Thank you very much, Dr. Asabia Asare. And having listened to highlights of the report, we will have the Deputy Minister for Trade and Industry to formally launch the report for us. As we welcome her on stage, let me also acknowledge the presence of the Chief Director of the Ministry of Information, Madam Charlotte Morgan-Asiedu. Please, thank you very much for joining us. So we'll have the Deputy Trade Minister's remarks, and then she will launch the report.
Thank you, Kweku. I stand on all protocols observed, and I only want to share with you how good it is to be back home. I didn't know I missed this place so much till I got back this morning and this podium. But hey, indeed, it is a pleasure for me to be here to launch the report on the analysis on the non-traditional export statistics for the year 2022. I'm also extremely delighted to see that our non-traditional exports have continued to show resilience in the face of global economic challenges. As the Deputy Minister currently responsible for international trade, I'm particularly pleased with the outcome of the 2022 non-traditional export statistics, as it is a testament to the relentless work put in by every individual along the export value chain. We have often emphasized the importance and contributions of Ghana's non-traditional export sector to the Ghanaian economy. And while this now sounds like a broken record, it cannot be dismissed. The report on the offered analysis aims to inform us of the critical trends and patterns in this sector. The report emphasizes the growth of the NTE's non-traditional exports with a considerable increase in export volume over the previous year. This indicates that the efforts to promote the NTE sector through the government's numerous initiatives and interventions are achieving the objectives for which these initiatives and interventions were instituted. Distinguished guests, the NTE sector has been a key driver of our economic growth in our country, providing much needed foreign exchange earnings and employment opportunities for our people through the value addition. The sector has contributed significantly to our overall export earnings, accounting for over 20.22% of total exports in the past year. It is refreshing to note that the NTE sector will catalyze and also consolidate the gains of initiatives such as the One District, One Factory program, promote product development and market access opportunities for products of these factories, address supply-side constraints, and improve the competitiveness of goods and services produced in Ghana, improve the policy and regulatory environment, and develop the requisite human capital needed to expand the supply base of value-added products and services to take advantage of the free trade agreement entered into by the countries such as the AFTA, the Economic Partnership Agreement, the Africa Growth and Opportunity Act, and ECOWAS Trade Liberalization Scheme. The report we are launching today provides valuable insights into the performance of the NTEs in 2022. It highlights the key sectors that have contributed to the growth of the sector, such as the agribusiness, industrial arts and crafts, services and manufacturing, as well as processed and semi-processed sectors. Overall, the NTEs increased by 6% or 3.5 million USD over the previous year and accounted for, as I said earlier, 20.22% of the total export earnings. Overall, the National Exports Development Strategy is intended to provide a new direction for the growth of the non-traditional export sector and to ensure that earnings from the sector increase from the 2.8 billion in 2018 to an annual NTE revenue target of at least 25.3 billion by the 10th year of 2029. I would like to use this medium to acknowledge GEPA, Ghana Export Promotion Authority, management, and everybody for the strategic and targeted activities they have put in place to guarantee that those involved in the trade are encouraged to follow the essential export environment regulations. I would also advise persons in trade to contact the Ministry of Trade's National Coordination Office of AFCFTA, which is constantly and actively engaging businesses, private and public institutions to take full benefit of the AFCFTA. The non-traditional export sector has played and will continue to play an important part in the economic growth of the country. The insights provided in this current report will be useful as we seek to overcome the sector's challenges and capitalize on the global market's potential. Finally, I would like to thank you all, everyone who contributed to the execution of this report. I'm convinced that the findings and recommendations in this study will perform and inform our policies and plans for expanding the non-traditional export industry and driving our economic growth. At this point, the report is duly launched, and thank you for your attention. God bless us all.
Thank you very much, Deputy Minister for Trade and Industry, who is also the Member of Parliament for Ekropong, Honorable Dokua Esiama Ejay. Ladies and gentlemen, and our colleagues with the media, please note that copies of the report and highlights will be shared with you. So we have hard copies here. If you want to grab one, please do so when the program is over. We'll also put soft copies on our platforms. So please, if you're on the platform, you can take a look at that so that you can have all the details that you need from this new report. We want to spend the final moments of today's program taking your questions. So the media journalists here, if you want to ask any question, please, as we always do, you rise, you mention your name, you tell us the media house you work with, and then you shoot. We want to do this quickly so that we can get back to our offices. So I can see a hand here, Davido. You mention your name, you tell us the media house, and then you go ahead with your question.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Ataminsa from GNA. Yes, it's quite impressive with how Ghana is performing in terms of our non-traditional export. But I'm interested in the service sector that Ghana raked in 8 billion. I want clarification. Is it in dollars or in cedis? Yes, we want to clarify in terms of services. Then how do we negotiate with the beneficiary countries to pay us if we export our nurses, our doctors, IT services, consultancy services? How is the negotiation done for us to get that amount for us? Then two, as Doctor said, ECOWAS market is bringing us about 34.5% in terms of our non-traditional export. And Burkina Faso is our number one destination. And so we look at the political situation in West Africa in general, and in particular Burkina Faso with this political instability. How is the authority assessing the impact of this political instability in Burkina Faso and West Africa in general going to affect our export in that sector? How is it going to affect it? Whether it's going to reduce it or is going to improve it? Thank you.
Yes, my name is John Awuni Kesbin. Today being World Press Freedom Day, I'd like to ask a question relating to that, if you permit me. Ghana has dropped...
John,
yes.
I'm sorry, the Minister for Information has just been called to Cabinet.
Okay.
So I'm sure your question will be directed to him. If you can hold on, send it to me.
Okay.
I'll get it to him and then he'll get your response. Okay.
Right
Now I want to focus on the GEPA report.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do we have more questions from the journalists so that we get Doc to respond to them? Okay.
My name is Joseph Armstrong. I think most of us, we came for the very first part. So I think we can still go ahead and ask the question, and maybe the minister later on can respond to us equally, because we are all interested in Ghana dropping 2 places in the press freedom index. That is the question that most of us want to ask. What went wrong? And we want to find out, are we safe as journalists in this country? So if the minister probably would want to answer us, whoever please, we'll be very grateful. Thank you.
Okay, Joseph, are you safe?
To some
Do you
extent,
feel safe?
I don't feel safe because of sometimes we cannot go ahead and ask the questions we want to ask, because sometimes the attacks that comes our way. I don't feel safe as a journalist in this country.
All right, that's just by the way, but I'll
That's
pass
right.
your question to the minister,
so
and I'm
much.
sure he will
Yeah.
provide some responses. Do we have more questions on the GEPA report? Okay, Davido. Sorry.
My name is Abdul Hanan Adam. I work with GH1 and Star FM. Madam, I saw a drop in 2 of the products. One is natural rubber sheets, and then the second one is the canned tuna. I'd like to find out what accounted for this decline. If you can provide that with an update on that. Thank you.
Can we have one final question so that we let the dog? Okay.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Isaac Asari with GBC. I feel a bit disappointed with the share not being among the biggest earners, because when you go to the northern part of the country, share has a potential that we can nurture to be at par with that of cocoa paste and cashew among the rest. Can there be a deliberate policy where we can at least empower most of the women who are caretakers of these products? We can take them through training, funding, and also other activities so that it can also be at par with that of cocoa. Yeah.
All right, so we will hold on with these 3 questions and allow Doc to provide some responses. Just to go through, so the first one is service sector, the 8 billion, is it in dollars or cedis? There was also another question on how do we negotiate. There's also a question on Burkina Faso, looking at the political instability in that country. How is authorities here assessing the impact on the business we do with them? Another question on Ghana dropping, sorry, that was the World Press Freedom question, so I'll note that for Minister. The drop in 2 products, what has accounted for that? Canned tuna, and then I think you said natural rubber. Okay, and then the last question, the share not being big exports, can there be a deliberate policy? All right, cocoa butter. And then the final question, Doc, is share not being a big export, can there be a deliberate policy to empower women to make it more attractive to compete with other crops like cocoa? Let's allow Dr. Asari to give us some responses now.
I think the first question was about the regulation of the services. The figure that we accrued from services, 8 billion, comes from the Bank of Ghana. It means there were arrangements that were made for the services to be sold outside of Ghana. And that is why the monies came through the Bank of Ghana, because that is where we source that information from. So it isn't about just us sending our experts out, our teachers, and you name them out, consultants, engineers, and everybody out, and not getting the money back. This is what was regulated, and that is how come the Bank of Ghana could account for that. In dollars, please. It didn't drop. And then the second question was about the safety of the West African region. Yes, there are issues with some of the countries in West Africa, but ECOWAS, the ECOWAS region formed the Trade Promotions Organization of West Africa, which is the TPO network of ECOWAS, and we've been working together at that level to make sure that we work very well amongst ourselves. So there are issues, but these are not issues that we cannot surmount. So we are working very well amongst ourselves. If it is not safe to go there, we do not go there. So far, with Burkina Faso, it is not that bad, but we would wish that everything there will be okay so that we can trade with them as we do always. Then we talked about the natural rubber sheets that, what was the issue with the natural rubber sheets? That it went down? Okay. Dropped in 2020. Okay. So all the other products that dropped, you know, the COVID affected manufacturing of some of these products, and that is why they dropped. So more of those that doesn't have value added to it were exported. If you take the canned tuna, we couldn't can as much as we would have wished to, and so we were exporting more of the fresh tuna. This accounted for it. So we are seeking expansion in the production of the canned tuna. Very soon, I'm sure it will come back to where it used to be and even go up more. It's happened to cocoa butter as well, and shea oil. In fact, if anybody wants to invest in Ghana, what I would wish for the person to do is to look at the shea oil industry, the shea oil, where we get a lot of requests coming in for that product, but we don't have enough factories producing shea oil. So if we could add value to the shea oil, the shea butter to get the shea oil, it will help us. Sefini?
Okay, Madam, still on the products, I'm just curious and wondering how iron steel overtook aluminium plates in terms of the earnings or contributions, knowing very well that the iron ore deposit that we have in the country are yet to be explored or mined. We have one in Opomanso, some in the Oti region, and then another in Shini in Yendi. So I'm just wondering, is it the case that we are importing this, adding value to export, or there's a way that we are getting it here to refine it, make it a finished product, and then export? I just want clarity on that.
Some of them are imported, and some of them are from scrap that we are adding value to export. Thank you.
Colleagues, we will have to take a second batch, but we'll have to be very quick so that we can wrap up and then help ourselves by filing our story. So we'll take the last two questions so that Doug and the team can also get back to work.
Thank you. My question goes to the Deputy Minister. This is bothering me. If we are getting this colossal amount of $8 billion through our service sector, as the Bank of Ghana has stated, an ordinary person will ask, why should we even go for the IMF loan if we are getting such amount from our service sector? With just $3 billion from IMF, while we are getting $8 billion from our service sector, an ordinary person will find out, is it necessary? Does it make logic for us to even go for that amount, which has a lot of restrictions on our economy?
Because we need more. That's all. We need more. It's not enough. And so if we want to stop going to IMF, then we have to add value to our products and export more. Because you realize that what we have is not even enough. The fact that we got $8 billion doesn't mean it solves that problem. It means it's not enough. We should have gotten more than that. And that's why we are going to IMF. So we need more. This whole thing is to explain to Ghanaians that if we add value to our products and we look for the market outside and we export more instead of importing more. So it's about import substitution and export. Then we would not have to go and borrow. So that's I won't even let the minister come and answer this. We want more.
Thank you for your presentation. My name is Shibata, working with Japan External Trade Organization, JETRO. We are under the Japanese government organization where we promote investment, mutual trade investment between Ghana and Japan. And my question is, I was looking at the table for exporting companies, and then how much is the contribution ratio of a free zones company, basically? Because my background is like some of the Japanese companies are expected to establish offices here in Ghana to oversee the ECOWAS regions. So like we are thinking that Ghana is one of the leading hubs in the region. So like I want to know the contribution of the free zones or free zone companies basically for this exporting.
I think that would be a good idea to put a separate table together for what the free zones is doing. So we will take this on board. Thank you.
Please give yourselves a round of applause. Give yourselves a round of applause. So, ladies and gentlemen, we will call it a day for today's press briefing. But before we go, we will want to have dignitaries in a photo session. So, we will do the photo session and then we will call it a day. Please, colleagues from the media, invited guests, I'm told we have some refreshments outside. And so please make yourself comfortable. We will see you at our next Minister's Press Briefing. But for today, thank you so much for coming and do have a wonderful day. Thank you.